and therefore intend to put measures that will lead to the national dialogue of all stakeholders to come up with modern and inclusive way of managing our national teams. Our Black Star will shine again. Mr. Speaker, I must say that the past 2 weeks have been a very difficult one and worrisome to me as the Ghana's Minister for Youth and Sports. Technical vacancy. Following the Ghana's early exit from the 2023 African Cup of Nations, Coach Chris Hutton was relieved of his job as a Black Star coach. This has led to vacancy ahead of other assignments by the Black Star in 2024. The Ghana Football Association has since set up a 5-member committee to commence discussion on the appointment of a new coach and the technical team for the Black Star, as we have agent World Cup qualifiers in the
Sports Minister Mustafa Yusuf has given an account of Ghana's expenditure at the 2023 AFCON starting in stating emphatically that the ministry spent a little over $3 million. Well, Mustafa Yusuf confirmed in Parliament on February 14 that the ministry budgeted $8,506,450 for the tournament that the Ivory Coast hosted.
The Ministry of Youth and Sports is aware of disappointments among the Ghanaian populace and therefore intend to put measures that will lead to the national dialogue of all stakeholders to come up with modern and inclusive way of managing our national teams. Way forward, Mr. Speaker, the Black Star performance in the last major tournament, that is 2021 AFCON in Cameroon, 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, and the 2023 AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire, where Ghana exits at the group stage of all these 3 major tournaments, notwithstanding government continuous huge investments in the team is not acceptable. The Ministry of Mr. Speaker, our estimated budget for the 2023 African Cup of Nations tournament was $8,506,450 United States dollars. And this was to cater for the pre-tournament stages, that is our pre-campaign stages, the tournament phase, that's the group stages, and also the 1/16 stage, quarterfinals, semi-finals, and the finals. If we have gone through all the stages up to finals, Mr. Speaker, Ghana, the estimated budget would have been $8,506,450 United States dollars. Out of this amount, an amount of $5,070,840.36 United States dollars was released by the Ministry of Finance, of which $3,070,067.81 was spent on the team pre-campaign in Kumasi, that is buying flight tickets for all our team players and technical team from their base to Ghana, and also taking them to Kumasi, and also making sure that their per diems are paid, the flight arrangements for the team, medicals, equipment, and logistics, hospitality. This resulted in a surplus of $2,172,055 after our early exit from the tournament. Mr. Speaker, the ministry had negotiated to pay bonuses should the team progress to the next round of the tournament. Therefore, no qualification bonuses were paid due to the team early exit.
Animano Ama Kofi-Bua MP for Elembele constituency has called on the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, and other stakeholders in the education ministry for the inclusion of Nzema language and in other curriculum of colleges of education in the Western region to train teachers for most of the Nzema schools in the Western region. Well, according to him, it's a matter of worthy worth noting that despite the high level of development of the language, interest in the teaching and learning of the language in our educational institution is waning drastically.
I and other colleague MPs, the MP for Varua Jomrojura, the MP for Jomor, key stakeholders and chiefs have come together to try to find a solution to these challenges. And the following recommendations are therefore made for the consideration of the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Educational Service, and the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, with the support of this August House. 1. The Nzima language should be included in the curriculum of College of Education in the Western Region to train teachers of Nzima for Nzima schools. 2. The non-employment of Nzima language graduates to teach the language extensively at the basic and senior high school level should be addressed. 3. Teachers of the Nzima language should be posted to Nzima schools where they can teach the language effectively instead of posting them to then Nzima areas where those languages cannot be taught. The Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, the Mother Ministry of the Bureau of Ghana Language Issues, staff the Ga, Akuapem, Infante and Nzima sections of the agency to provide the needed language services and staff the committees. The language committee should be resourced adequately to be functional to meet their mandate. We as a country must take pride in our local languages if we are
Still in Parliament, Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Feyomakin has ostensibly blocked the third reading of the passage of the anti-LGBTQ+ bill. Well, while he says it's not against the bill, he opposes that the provision that would lead to the imprisonment of individuals accused of engaging in or promoting LGBT activities.
Mr. Speaker, the essence of this motion is to afford this August House the opportunity to thoroughly consider amendments I have proposed to the bill with a view of substituting community service for incarceration. The amendments presented in this bill are motivated by a strong conviction regarding the necessity of implementing a more rehabilitative strategy in our criminal justice system, specifically with regards to the issues it tackles. Mr. Speaker, the issue before us is behavioral, and it is my humble view that in dealing with behavioral matters, incarceration is not a solution. It makes the matter worse. That our court system should introduce a more humane, reformative, rehabilitative system where people who breach our laws, who sin against our legislation, would have an opportunity to reform and be reintegrated. To jail a person for his sexuality or her sexuality would not be the solution in maintaining our Ghanaian family values and ensuring proper human sexual rights. Mr. Speaker, in the least, such individuals who get into our jails become worse off. Mr. Speaker, as a law student, in my final year at Makola, upon visiting in Sawom with my colleagues, it became clear that inmates were being sodomized. It became clear that people were rather getting deeper into that habit and that behavioral aspect of our culture that we dislike. It is clear, and I need to emphasize that without reservation, that this motion does not stem from any opposition to the bill in and by itself. But conversely, I wholeheartedly endorse the guiding principles and goals that inform this legislation. Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, like I said, and for emphasis, I strongly hold the conviction that the integration of community service as an alternative to incarceration
will substantially bolster the efficacy and compassion of our judicial system. I dare say, Mr. Speaker, that will be retrogressive should we insist as a House. Mr. Speaker, the essence of this motion is to afford this August House the opportunity to thoroughly consider amendments I have proposed to the bill.
Away from Parliament, the National Association of Graduate Teachers has issued a 2-day ultimatum to the Office of the Special Prosecutor to release the salaries of some teachers by Friday or phase their out. Well, the association alleged that the OSP has had withheld the salaries of more than 400 teachers. According to the office, they are investigating ghost names on the government payroll.
That questioning where the OSP got his authority from. And even if he does have that authority, whether it is not prudent to have informed the managers of these teachers, the employers of these teachers, that is Ghana Education Service, before directing that their salaries should be suspended. Is the OSP telling us that he has the power to direct workers not to work, or direct workers not to be paid their salaries? On what basis? What if the basis of the OSP is flawed?
The National Democratic Congress believes that Ghanaians would be handling over once again to President Adankwa Akufo-Addo should they vote for the flag bearer of the new Patriotic Party for the upcoming 2024 elections, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. While speaking at a press conference, the NDC's General Secretary Fifi Kote explained that Dr. Bawumia has been a part of the Akufo-Addo's led government and plays an instrumental role in its decision making. Opposition National Democratic Congress says the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is a West President and the person to lead Ghana into the future. Well, according to the General Secretary of the NDC, Dr. Bawumia and the entire NPP-led administration since 2016 had peddled falsehood to cover up the mismanagement of the economy.
In fact, that very little has been done by this government to increase the power generation capacity of Ghana, a vital prerequisite for any economic transformation. It takes a visionary leader like JM to set up the ESLA Fund, the Ghana Exim Bank, to get GPHA and Ghana Airport Company to build great and solid bank sheets and leverage such bank sheets to be able to raise billions of dollars for the massive expansion that we see today, both at our airport and also at our harbor. In doing so, John Mahama was showing he was ahead of the curve. And if Bawumia had any humility, he would have learned from John Mahama and not superintended over the most monumental and reckless borrowing, which has today brought Ghana the shame of not being able to pay her debt and reduce this beautiful country to an object of ridicule all over the world. In addition, it was Mahama's vision and toil that yielded 960,000 metric tons of cocoa production in the year 2016. Today, cocoa production has declined to below 500,000 metric tons. How this clueless and visionless Bawumia can even have the audacity to boast about bold solutions beggars belief. We submit to you that Bawumia has a massive vision deficit and cannot be compared to John Mahama in any way, shape, or form. 2. Responsibility deficits. A true leader takes responsibility for his words and works. He does not take the credit for good things done and seek to blame others for the things that are not good. President Mahama, when he took over from President Mills, did not run away from the previous policies. He could have chosen to create the impression that a single spine salary policy, the implementation of which caused massive problems for our economy, was a policy that he, John Mahama, disagreed with. Instead, like a true leader,
And there have been some reshuffling in governance as Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has finally been relieved of his duties. Also out of the picture are Road Minister Caci Amwakwata and Health Minister Kweku Ajamamenu. In a very big shake-up, Information Minister Kujo Opon Kroma moves to the Housing Ministry, whilst his Deputy Minister Fatima Abubakar takes over as a substantive minister, while Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has also been reassigned as Minister of State at the Office of the Presidency. The recent reshuffle has impacted around 13 ministers of state, comprising 10 cabinet ministers and 2 regional ministers. A press release from the Presidency on Wednesday, February 14, catalogued the sacked ministers, those reassigned, and the newly appointed ones. Ghana's democracy has once again been described as flawed in the 2023 Democracy Index report by the Economic Intelligence Unit. Well, according to the report, the country witnessed a fall in both democracy index and the ranking status. Ghana, which had an index of 6.43 out of the 10, has ranked 63rd in 2023, now has an index of 6.3 out of 10, ranks 65th gradually globally, while the country's rank also dropped from 4th to 5th in Africa, next to Cape Verde, South Africa and Namibia. This indicates a deterioration in the practice of democracy in the country. Now let's do some business news, where former Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Akoto Afiye, has observed that the only means of empowering and increasing the income of the local farmer is to introduce an import restriction both on food production. While speaking at the launch of the 78th anniversary at the Faculty of Agriculture at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the former Kwadaso lawmaker said Ghana has the ability to produce more than it consumes with the right investment.
On the issue of food imports, in 2021, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture estimated that on average, poultry farmers in Ghana produce chicken at a cost of 26 cedis per kilogram. At the same time, imported chicken was selling for 16 cedis per kilogram. This huge difference in prices put our local poultry farmers at a disadvantage in competing with their counterparts abroad. It is obvious that the chicken importers are landing their products in Ghana, heavily subsidized by the countries of origin. Many imported food items, including rice and palm oil, suffer the same fate as that of poultry. It is therefore unfortunate that last December 2023, the Minister of Trade and Industry could not lay a legislative instrument in Parliament to restrict the import of 22 selected food items. 12 of these imports were agricultural products which are cultivated by our farmers in Ghana. Our farmers are heavily disadvantaged under the current import regime. They desperately need a level playing field in order to compete effectively with their counterparts abroad. Our legislature to act as a matter of urgency to restrict these imports which are being dumped on the
National news, where Greece Parliament legalized same-sex marriage